Malina, so we must have met, what, nearly a year ago now? Was it last June?
It was June, yes.
And just to give a bit of background, Malina was a delegate on a program that we were delivering for continuing education within the University of Oxford on how to start a business. And I distinctly remember there was one particular delegate in that cohort who was quite assertive, quite feisty, and came up to us afterwards and asked if we could actually help her more specifically with the particular business idea that she had. Well, myself and Steve cleverly couldn't say no, because she was so enthusiastic and energetic about this. So we had a meeting with Malina actually here at Oxentia, and we better understood Malina's interests, and it really captured our imagination. And those interests, Malina, are around neurodiversity and the value of neurodiversity in innovation and perhaps even innovation productivity in any environment, right? In the private sector, in the public sector. And we invited you to explore this with us. And I know that you've been talking to others. So what have you found out? What has validated your thinking and caused you also to come to perhaps different conclusions?
Well, first of all, it was lovely to meet you guys there, and the training was amazing. So I thought this could be an amazing opportunity for me to start spreading the awareness and doing the work I would like to do with neurodiversity. And I've connected with quite a few people, and we've had Mel and we have Plassie talking with us before about how neurodiversity ties in with HR as well as organizations, and how we can utilize neurodiverse employees and their gifts, I suppose, and skills that they have to help innovation and to help organizations work a bit more inclusively and be a bit more diverse, and how that ties in with innovation. So we've learned that it is something that has started now, and people are becoming more and more aware of what neurodiversity is, and how it's not necessarily a disability, and that's that nothing is ever that simple. So how can we essentially spread that awareness and create a more innovative and creative workforce, as well as work on inclusivity within workplaces, and how does it translate into innovation?
Can I just clarify, what do you mean by neurodiverse characteristics, neurodiverse people?
So these would be people who are born with a different neurological makeup, which means it affects how they think, it affects how they feel and perceive the world. Therefore, if they come, with a group of neurotypical people, and let's say the majority of people will be looking at a problem from one perspective, chances of looking at it from another perspective are that a neurodiverse person will be able to see that, because they naturally will think and perceive differently. Our brains work a little differently, and that will translate into finding sometimes solutions that most people might not think of.
Okay, and there's a spectrum, is there? There's a spectrum
Absolutely.
of how neurodiverse an individual might be.
Yes, and I'm glad you did this. It's not linear. Just imagine a spider graph instead.
Right.
So we would have, it's called a spiky profile essentially. So certain abilities that our brains will naturally have are going to be above average in the population, and some of them are going to be below average. So for example, for me, my brain thinks quite analytically. So if I see something, I will naturally think in scenarios. So if we have this, what if we did that? What if we did this? What if we did that? And that kind of is this processing speed, I suppose, is also high. But on the other hand, things like admin completely kill me. I cannot do it really well. I can do it, but it takes a lot of effort, which I think is why creating complex teams is important. So playing to people's strengths as opposed to a very strictly defined job descriptions would be a better way to approach building innovative teams, I think.
Okay, and I remember when we met you, you sat in this very office with us actually, and you're very passionate about this. This is something that affects you personally, right? And can you tell us more about that?
Right, so I have been diagnosed autistic about 2.5 years ago, I think. So quite late, it was in my 30s. And then I worked here at Buckinghamshire at Diagnostic Centre for Adult Autism and ADHD, and realised I'm also ADHD and ADD. I've got both profiles. And it has completely changed and transformed, and I would go as far as saying saved my life, because it allowed me to look at how I am, how I think, how I feel, especially that emotional reactivity.
Okay, and I remember when we were chatting in here, you suddenly looked up and you said, and that's why I really connected with you, Tim. Tell me more about that.
I would say, and it has come up in conversations with other neurodiverse people, there's a myth that we are not empathic, for example. And yes, to certain things, again, because we don't see things the same way most of the population does, they might not be as important. But when we meet another person that is similar or neurodiverse, or our profiles are similar, we connect instantly.
Okay. My first reaction, because what effectively Malina was accusing me of was being neurodiverse, or perhaps otherwise known as being slightly on the spectrum. My first reaction to that was, my God, I'm nearly 50. I'm not neurodiverse. And I went away, and since last June, I've reflected on some of the thoughts and principles and observations that Malina has been making as I've come to better understand neurodiversity, and it's actually really helped me.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I'm still not going to get diagnosed formally. Maybe one day you'll make that happen. But it's made me reflect on how and why I work as I do, what the strengths of that are, and to help me work with others better. Now, one of the other aspects of this which resonated with Oxentia and what we do, obviously Oxentia has its own foundation, and in that foundation we want to support entrepreneurs who suffer with some of the inequities in the world, right? And some people consider neurodiverse people to have a disability, right? Can you tell me more about that and some of the issues that people on the spectrum face, perhaps, with opportunities in life?
Absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, I would say, and that's my personal opinion, that there are things that you might consider a disability. There are things that you might consider extraordinary abilities. And nothing is ever as straightforward as one or the other. Like I said, there are some things I am quite good at, and there are some things that I really struggle with. For example, my energy levels and how things trigger and activate me, especially sensory stimuli. It can burn me out within an hour at work, and then I'm just rubbish for the entire day. And it's important to understand that I need to take that rest. So you could call that the part of disability.
Right.
If you want to look at it from this lens, some people will consider that they do have disability. Some people will say that they don't identify as such. I think it's important to look at things holistically and to be able to work with the issues that you might have as opposed to against them. So saying, no, definitely not disability, or completely ignoring it, understanding how it works so you can work with it, as well as promoting the skills that you have.
Okay, and you and I have found there are some shocking statistics out there on the lack of awareness or representation amongst disabled populations in the workplace of people who may be considered to be on the spectrum, who may have this disability. And that lack of awareness is one of the things that is driving what some may think of as an explosion in interest in trying to raise awareness and trying to better manage and support neurodiverse people within the workplace. Now, my next question to you is, do you think atypical neurodiverse people, right, are quite common in the innovation and entrepreneurship community?
I would say so, definitely, because if I approach it, let's say logically, if we're looking at a bell curve, yes,
Yep.
the innovation is not going to come if everybody fought in an innovative way.
Yep.
Everybody would be, and therefore no one would be. And these ideas, they come every once in a while, and they come from approaching problems and finding solutions in a different way, from a different perspective. And that is naturally an extension of that would be people who do think differently. And like we discussed, people who are neurodiverse naturally are built in such a way that it comes naturally to them.
Okay, and this is where I think Oxentia gets particularly interested. We've spent the last decade plus trying to help public and private sector organisations to improve their innovation productivity, and we do it around process and capability and policy. And we've increasingly realised that at the heart of all this, it doesn't matter about all that. If the people within the organisation are not working to their highest potential, and we focus in other areas on those soft skills, those human aspects, and harnessing, unleashing the power of difference, right, as you would say, is an extremely powerful, perhaps untapped way. And so what I think you and I have become very interested in is how can we best support organisations, any organisation, our own organisation, to improve its own innovation productivity by recognising and better supporting neurodiverse individuals within teams.
Indeed.
And do you have any further thoughts on that now, having thought about it, spoken to a lot of people about it? Do you think that is an opportunity for everybody?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I think it's a great value to try and make any environment more inclusive, more accepting, and more equal. But it has to come with awareness. So if you don't know, like for example, a lot of people will not know what neurodiversity is. What do we understand? What do we mean by neurodiversity? So spreading awareness would be definitely the first step, just so people are aware that there is something like that, what it offers, where there might be challenges, and how to find solutions and strategies to address the challenges and equally enable the opportunities where the skills are quite high in people. So creating an environment that is accepting of difference, to showcase what that difference is, as well as being able to take care of the employees in areas where they might need a bit more support.
Okay, and you and I have explored this, right? We've
Yes.
explored this with HR departments. We've tried and had some conversations with HR departments. It's been challenging, hasn't it? It's challenging to get to the right people within organisations who want to address this. And the advice that we've been given and the conclusions that we've come to is that at the most senior levels in the business or in any organisation, that's often where the interest and the collaboration is catalysed. This impacts on the productivity of your organisation. It impacts on staff retention.
Yes.
And so these issues, particularly in this environment in Oxford, where talent and skills can be in such a shortage, the ability to get more value out of our incredibly creative workforces and to retain those incredibly creative people by better understanding and managing neurodiverse issues, I think is a great opportunity. I want to thank you for introducing us to this concept, for helping us explore it, for perhaps helping me to think about my own ways of working. And we look forward to working with you in the future in Oxentia as part of a broader offering in how we help organisations improve innovation productivity.
Well, thank you so much. I look forward to it as well. I think it's a great opportunity. I think we'll be changing the world for the better and creating a more innovative workforce and spreading awareness, which is always fun.
Excellent. Malina, thanks very much.
Thank you, Tim.